Simon Jack Chapter 8 The Tributary Gazette. Grandmother had another idea. The local newspaper, as it was called, had been branded the Tributary Gazette. Looking back, it reminded me more of the Inquirer than a local rag. The editor and owner was a guy named Ernest Jim. An odd fellow, you could always find him at the newspaper unless something was going on in town. Today's headline warned the residents of Red River not to feed cheap meat to their pets. With increasing cost of food for breeders, many were forced to add cheap cuts of meat the daily food. I thought the butcher was joking when he said, the cheapest meat on the market. Where deer balls they are under $1. But apparently local breeders were feeding them to their dogs, and the dogs got a taste for them. A few of the breeders were found with their equipment ripped out and bleeding to death. Jim was known to chat it up with the local women, and grandmother had hoped that he had made a move on Lily's mothers, and maybe had an eye on her. As we drove to town, we pasted the 5 and Dime, Hod's ice cream parlor and grill. I never liked the parlor, and the owner had a thing for clowns. Pulling up to the Tributary, the building was a shack, old, maybe one of the oldest in town. Strangely, Jim was out front plucking away on an old banjo. Grandmother jumped out and so did Mason, and I guess he had it in his mind that grandmother may treat us all to ice cream for our hard investigation work. Jim was a well-mannered middle-aged man, with dark brown hair. Listening closely to his and grandmother's conversation, I was surprised he was hitting on my grandmother, but other than that he hadn't seen Lily's mother. A lot of missing people, he said. Funny how this place just takes people. One minute the place is filled with laughter and the next it's filled with sorrow. Maybe the madness of laughter and sorrow come together as one here, in Red River. Well, Jim, if you would keep your eye out for Lily's mother, grandmother asked. Will, do you have planted the seeds of concern? Let's hope that it don't grow to no end. Jim went back to his banjo playing, humming some song about madness on the mountain. Mason was insentient, much like a little heel-biting dog trying to get something to eat. His constant nipping made grandmother quickly gave in, and the lot of us walked over to the parlor of clown horror. Dancing clowns, happy clowns always gave me the creeps, that and smiley faces. If you grew up glued to the tube, sneaking out to watch late-night horror movies, you know that if you see a bloody smiley face, something was about to go down. The first thing that comes to mind when I catches a glimpse of one, an image of a wolf-man creature ripping and tormenting some lost group of half-dressed college girls. And right there on the front door of this place, was a large freaking yellow smiley face. Slipping inside with the rest, I quickly sit down saying to grandmother, just order me whatever. Lily slid in beside me, the boys across from us, and within a few minutes, grandmother presented us with a round of Pepsi and banana splits. Talking and enjoying ourselves, Lily's mind seemed to relax a bit. This was the first I seen her smile all day, or maybe it was the first I noticed. Looking down at the fudge syrup dripping, making a black pool of goodness beside one of the bananas. The pool swirled as I cut into the banana, forming words, she seeps into blackened waters. S.J. Fishing out the little notebook I keep in my pocket, I quickly wrote down what was said by S.J., and stuck it back in my pocket. I figured I would keep a record of all of the little notes he had been sending me. I was told a long time ago, you may not understand something someone says to you at first, but there will be a time you will, so in my mind I figured it was best to keep up with the strange things, the odd things in my life, and S.J. was on the top of that list. The parlor went dark, the black pool of melted fudge moved and wiggled climbing out of my bowl, looking around as to say, do you see this? Lily's face, her eyes were black pits, mouth open as if she was screaming. Mason and Ethan's were the same. Grandmother was nowhere to be seen. The freezer where they kept the ice cream overflowed with a sticky red syrup covering the owner of the parlor. In the owner's laid there on his back, tied to his hands were 4 yellow balloons, that moved and swayed as the thick red syrup pushed against his hands. The balloon struck the side of the metal ice cream cabinet, popping, emitting a green mist, which flowed and twisted in the air of the parlor. The sound of the popping balloons still echoed in my ears. I wiped my face as something cold dripped from my chin. Blood, I thought. I felt my body being shook back and forth. Coming to my senses, Lily and grandmother was standing over me. I was on my back. I guess Mason had dripped ice cream on my face in hopes of waking me up. Or maybe he just thought it would be funny. Pulling myself up, I managed to ask what was wrong. Not sure, son, but you got up and fell down, you kept saying. There are two worlds, this one and theirs. One is glistening domain of illusions, the other is a secret place, where we really are, and it's a terrifying reality. Does that mean anything to you? Lily asked. Not a thing, maybe I just had too much of something. Could I be allergic to the peanuts? I asked openly. Just as Mason helped me up, I noticed a freaked out store owner with 4 yellow balloons.